Hello, fellow female activists. Cathy here, your wellness coach, coming at you. And we are in another wellness playlist video. Today, we're asking you, okay, how long are you going to keep your hand off on the hot stove? How long are you going to keep your hand on the hot stove? So this is like analogy time. So with that, let me go ahead and welcome anyone who's new. Subscribe, please, and like the video and share it. Everyone knows that when you see the green background, okay, the Zen-like, we will start, okay, with our positive quotient repetitions, PQ reps for short. You can think of it as like the root of meditation and mindfulness, okay? So PQ reps is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today, but this is a wonderful way to get acquainted with it. So however you feel safe, if you want to close your eyes, wonderful at the beginning here or not, that's okay too. Preferably you would be in a space that's quiet, okay? Even if you're not in a quiet place, at least be able to feel safe that you can be inside yourself, okay? Like turn inside. So whether you're sitting, standing, laying down, perfectly okay. I'm going to close my eyes. And what I want you to do, okay, is go ahead and take two fingertips. And with such attention, go ahead and start rubbing your fingertips together with such intention that you can feel the fingertip ridges. What kind of sensation is that sending to your nervous system? Just notice. Now, go ahead and bring your palms together in prayer. In the prayer, as we do call it in yoga, prayer hand. And once again, with a lot of intention and feeling, go ahead and rub your hands together from fingertips all the way to the palm down and notice all those sensations. Notice all the fingertips touching the other. Do you notice the warmth? You move your fingertips down your palm. What are you experiencing? Are you ticklish? Have you created any warmth like friction? Now go ahead and put one of your hands on your belly. And without changing your breath, simply notice what's happening to your hand. Go ahead now, blink your eyes open if they're closed. That, my friends, was your introduction, or if you're familiar with them already, your PQ reps for the day. So, like I said, today the title is Take Your Hand Off the Hot Stove, quote unquote. So, I am a work in progress when it comes to becoming a positive intelligence, positive quotient coach, or PQ coach. I want to be certified with positive intelligence because mental fitness is absolutely imperative. So the subcategory is mental fitness, okay? And what we're talking about is the theory, okay, the idea of keeping your hand on the hot stove. How long are you going to keep your hand on the hot stove? Or really what I would hope that you're going to, after this video, is ask yourself, how long are you going to keep your hand on the stove instead of taking it off? We tend as humans, okay, a little background here. We, as humans, okay, evolution has it this way, that our thoughts, okay, are mostly, believe it or not, um, created in our subconscious, okay? And that's by design. Our subconscious mind is based out of basically the necessity to survive, correct? So when our ancestors, okay, were living in caves and had to get away from wild, big creatures, it was instinctive for them to be on the alert, okay? Am I in danger, right? So your subconscious is absolutely more mature and a lot stronger, believe it or not. Literally 97% of all of our thoughts are automatic. Compared to up here, where our prefrontal cortex is. This part of our brain is where executive function happens. I need executive function apparently or I need to work on mine because apparently I can't talk very well right now. Anyway, what I'm getting at is that your prefrontal cortex, okay, your executive thinking, that's very new, okay, compared to the subconscious. When we want to access, okay, logic, when we want to access anything other than the fear response, okay, the fight or flight response, we want to make sure that we're cognizant of it, okay? We literally, okay, our brains are working automatic. They're working correctly, all right? So please don't take this as, oh, my brain's not working right. I'm always thinking from the subconscious. No, that is actually a beautiful element of our brain. Our brain is so efficient, okay? Your brain is efficient. Mine is efficient. It wants to go from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And believe me, it will do so. The caveat is that we are no longer our ancestors living in caves, all right, susceptible to the elements, well, to the most part, right? What I'm getting at is that because of civilization, however you want to look at that, we no longer have to be worried about lions, tigers, and bears, correct? We have other such worries, okay? But our brains, okay, don't know the difference between losing your car key or your key fob, right? Because we don't even need, we just need the fob to be honest, right? But either way, when we're talking about losing our keys, our brain, our subconscious, okay, the older part, the more mature part of our brain, the more powerful part of our brain, does not know the difference between losing your key fob, okay, to your vehicle or the saber-toothed tiger coming at you. It's one and the same to it. Now, that's not a bad thing per se. And at the same time, we get to understand that unless we learn how to overcompensate, quite literally, we literally have to take command of our subconscious and say, hold on, I'm taking my hand off the hot stove so that I can think clearly, so that I have better mindfulness practices, so that I can get out of the fight or flight mode and think clearly enough so that I can get through this debate, so I can be a better female advocate, okay, for social justice. So the theme here again was take your hand off the hot stove. I love this analogy. This basically sums up what mental fitness is all about. Again, fear and pain. Okay, let me put it this way. First point here, fear and pain, they are very useful. As a matter of fact, right? That's what keeps us alive. Our brain, the subconscious, its only point of living is to keep you alive, quite literally, right? So it will go through many different exercises to do so, sometimes to our detriment, meaning that it keeps us playing small, depending on what the situation is, right? So fear and pain are useful, but that's just for the awareness that something is off, that something is an emergency, or at least something requires your attention. Okay. So again, like let's say you bang your knee, unfortunately, like on, the coffee table. You're going to feel pain. That hurts. And what is that telling your body? Oh, be careful with your spatial IQ. Be careful where you are in space because you could have hurt yourself a lot worse, right? Your knee hit the table. You felt pain. That was instantaneous. Fear kicked in naturally, as well as the pain. After the initial 10 seconds of really being upset because that hurts, the pain is no longer useful, nor is the fear. You hit your knee on the table, and assuming that your knee, is not so fragile that you hurt something, more extensive. You just, felt the pain. That should be over. And then that tells your brain, oh, I need to go around the table or I need to move the table, whatever the issue is, right? The awareness that the fear and the pain brought literally only took your brain another second to figure out, is this really danger or can I just move past it? Our brains, though, again, because of evolution, of so many millennia of having to fight to stay alive, okay, they perceive that fear and pain as bad. And then they change your mood and say, oh, look what you did. You're a klutz. Or, oh my goodness, I can't believe you do that again. You're going to have so many bruises. So this game of shame, the judge, as we call it, okay, comes at you consistently. And it keeps repeating again subconsciously. So fear and pain, again, not bad, good, or otherwise. It is, in fact, a neutral response to your body. Your mind and your body, which are all one, are working to keep you alive. So fear and pain, absolutely okay. But after 10 seconds, it really doesn't make any sense to stay mad, to stay fearful. Again, assuming you're not in danger, true danger. So the analogy of taking your hand off the hot stove, how long are you going to be ticked off that you, again, bumped your knee? The pain now has subsided, hopefully. Okay, knock on wood. You didn't hurt anything. You're not having to go to the urgent care. You just bumped your knee. And yeah, it hurt, but now you knew that the table was there. And now you can move on with whatever you were doing. Okay. So, how long, though, after that moment with your knee, are you thinking about what you did? Oh, I'm a klutz. Why do I always do that? I'm going to have a bruise and I'm supposed to be, wearing my swimsuit in the next 2 days, whatever. Um, when you continually let the fear and pain run your brain, that's when we run into some issues. So mental fitness is about asking yourself, how long am I willing to keep my hand on the hot stove? So second point is how fast can you return to a neutral state, i.e. a focused state, ease and flow, okay? Whatever you were doing prior to hitting your knee, maybe you were getting your vehicle to key fob so that you could take off to an appointment. When you bumped your knee because you were in a hurry for whatever reason, then all of a sudden, oh God, goodness, you forgot what you were looking for. Well, you were looking for your key fob, but now you've become even later because you're frantic because you can't think, what the heck was I doing before I hit the table, right? How fast, okay, how fast you come back from, again, keeping your hand on the hot stove is going to be directly related to how your nervous system reacts. Mental fitness is no different from physical fitness, okay? So mental fitness is the idea that, okay, or at least in the version that positive intelligence definitely enjoys and I love to share, mental fitness has 3 core muscles. The awareness, okay? So you just realized, okay, and you actually heard what we call saboteurs. There are 9 saboteur accomplices, and there's the ultimate judge. So 10 saboteurs that utilize, unfortunately, our negative, what we deem negative emotions, not always to our advantage, okay? Whereas our sage perspective, okay, we only require 5 sage perspectives, different perspectives, to keep us in ease and flow. So again, fear and pain, useful to the human body and to the human mind, not so wonderful if you keep reimagining that moment when you hit your knee, because it's not serving you. You already made sure that your knee was okay. It's fine. You should be able to go on with your day. Instead, you're now in the vehicle trying to get to your appointment and you're fuming because now you're late and now you're ticked off because you're probably going to get a bruise, blah, blah, blah. Again, how long are you going to keep your hand on the hot stove? Instead of just accepting the fact that you hit your knee but all was well. You keep letting your subconscious take over. So the first, again, core muscle that you want to strengthen is simply noticing your saboteurs. Oh, I'm in saboteur mode. Those saboteurs, they're getting the better of me. The second core muscle that we want to work on so that you can take your hand off the hot stove a lot faster is self, or I should say the sage perspective. Okay. So the sage perspective, I told you, only five sage perspectives, okay, or 5 qualities of the sage mind, okay, to be more precise, can overcome 10 saboteurs, okay? This is important to understand, all right? I want you to understand that, again, the topic, take your hand off the hot stove. Again, you already realized that your knee was fine. Why then are you still upset in your vehicle as you run to your appointment or drive to your appointment rather, and you're still upset? Those are your saboteurs. So instead, you realize, okay, one, the core fitness muscle or mental fitness muscle. Whoa, I'm hearing my saboteurs, the subconscious. Then number 2 core muscle to mental fitness is I get to switch to the sage perspective. Then the 3rd core mental fitness muscle is self-command. So again, fear and pain take less than seconds, really, to register to your brain that something is wrong. Once the pain is gone, there is no reason why you need to still consider fear as an issue or stay fearful, assuming you're okay. You see that little finger? So weird. So again, mental fitness is all about how long are you willing to keep your hand on the hot stove. How fast you return to the sage perspective, okay, which is calm, focused, when you are clear-headed. That's when you can just definitely determine your best next step. It's not, now keep in mind, right? When you're in the fight mode, right? When you are literally jacked up on adrenaline for any reason, especially if your life is truly in danger, you're going to be clear-headed enough that your brain is going to work as quickly as it can to get you out of danger. But assuming that it was just your knee that you hit, right? Your brain is still going to use adrenaline. And if we switch our perspective to sage, then we can jump into self-command and say, whoa, there is my hand on the hot stove. I'm going to take it away. Now, are you immediately going to be satisfied and not think about your pain or your knee anymore? Maybe, maybe not. But there's a good chance that now you can take your anxiety level quicker to its more base level, okay? Rumination is a huge component of anxiety. I know because I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder in 2001. So I know what it's like to have extreme anxiety. Any situation, again, that involves some type of recognition of fear or pain, you get to decide, am I going to stay in the fear mode, i.e., let my saboteurs take over, or am I going to switch to sage and then take self-command and take my hand off the hot stove? How fast can you return to your more stable sage perspective is exactly what mental fitness is all about. Again, depending on what the situation is, I know for a fact when I am feeling sage. It's that ease and flow. It is the flow state, okay? So that can happen if you're in a fun activity. That can happen when you're enjoying whatever your, career path is and you're in the moment, right? You're in the zone, so to speak. Mental fitness is a key to getting into that flow state, even if you're not enjoying whatever you're partaking in. And I know that sounds funny, but keeping your hand off the hot stove is the whole point of mental fitness. Irregardless of what your task is that you're performing, irregardless of whatever your situation is, are you willing to take your hand off the hot stove? This could include a heated debate with someone that shares a different political view than you, right? It could be a situation where, a customer service rep isn't, you're not hearing what you want from the customer service rep. Let's put it that way. There are many reasons to take the saboteur mode or the path of saboteur. And mental fitness is asking you, hey, guess what? You have sage powers and you can take self-command of this situation, or at least of yourself, correct? And make this either an opportunity or ability to accept what's going on. And when I mean accept, I'm not saying that you pack up and say, okay, I've lost and all is gone. No. The idea, okay, of mental fitness is regulating your nervous system. Why? Because then you're able to not only stay healthier, okay, both mentally and physically, but it's about staying in that ease and flow as often as you can. Because when you are up against, right, some very high-spirited opponents in whatever situation you're in, when you can think clear-headed and not react, but respond. When you respond, you're taking your hand off the hot stove. When you react, that's when you are leaving your hand on the hot stove. I hope this is making sense to you. The reason why I wanted to share take your hand off the hot stove, because it's a very symbolic way of realizing what happens with your nervous system on a daily basis, in a moment-to-moment basis, really. We, again, as humans, avoid, we don't like change, okay? It's very evident as we're going through what we are here in the States. Change is not comfortable. And I also know that with the sage perspective, change is nothing more than an opportunity or a gift. You can either accept what's going on in the realm of what you're dealing with, okay? I'm not saying that I'm giving up on democracy because I'm not. What I'm saying is every situation, every moment we exchange ideas with others, right, can be an opportunity and a gift, and or a gift and opportunity. It's how we choose to see the situation. We can't control what someone else is going to say or do, right? We absolutely can decide to take our hand off the hot stove. When we are able to regulate our nervous system in any situation, we, again, not only become mentally and physically healthier, okay, we become the best problem solvers ever. Why? Because we're not going off of fear or flight, right? We're not avoiding, we're not, stonewalling anyone. We are being very present with the situation. We are being present with the individual that we are discussing very brightly with, right? That we're discussing very passionately with. And we're using the prefrontal cortex here. We're using not only the prefrontal cortex, but we are using empathy. We're using the idea that everyone, right, is at least 10% right in some way, shape, or form. It's not always easy to think about it that way, but when we are using empathy, which is a sage power, when we are using curiosity, that's when we can give someone else an opportunity to explain themselves. That's when we can let our minds wander when we're curious, to find answers to solutions we didn't think possible. Mental fitness comes down to, again, really understanding that we have saboteurs, all of us, and they're not good or bad. They are just what they were, okay? They were created in our minds as children, okay, as toddlers and children, because we don't have the filters at that young age to give us discernment, okay? We literally see and believe everything we hear and see, right? Especially around trusted individuals, right? Like our families. it is then how those saboteurs come to be. And why we needed them as little people. Once we're teenagers and we're able to start using logic, right? Our actual development is starting to up level, right? Then those saboteurs, unfortunately, aren't serving us the way they really want to. Okay, they're trying to keep us alive. We appreciate that. And we also know that there are no saber-toothed tigers anymore. We could maybe say that about people if you want to think of them that way. But what I'm saying is our mental fitness derives from really just three core muscles. Realizing when the saboteur is talking, okay, then decide to switch to sage, i.e., take your hand off the hot stove, and then finally take self-command. It's going to look different from moment to moment, right? And taking your hand off the hot stove doesn't mean it's not going to go back on for the same reason later on. But the idea is that I know my hand is on the hot stove. Even if you just realize your hand is on the hot stove, guess what? That's a big deal. And at some point, you'll then be able to say, okay, I want to take most of my hand off the hot stove, until which time you're ready and able, after some little, not so wonderful moment, you take your hand off the hot stove and say, I get to regulate that nervous system. I get to regulate myself for the betterment of this situation and from my own self-awareness, right? For my own self-preservation. So with that, again, this is all about how long are you going to keep your hand on the hot stove? Or maybe a better question to be in the more positive note, right? How fast are you willing to take your hand off the hot stove from now on, right? So with that, your call to action. If you want to learn more about how you can work with me and really dig more into the positive intelligence foundational mental fitness program, I'm your facilitator extraordinaire, and I'm happy to talk more with you or your organization. And you can drop me a comment below, or you can email me. My information is in the description. And we can definitely, talk about how we can work together. But again, this is all about, once more, how fast am I going to take my hand off the hot stove? Okay. So you have a wonderful rest of your evening, day, wherever you are, and we will talk again. Take care, take charge. God bless.